Welcome to the Explainer. We all think we know the story of the Garden of Eden, right? But what if it's not a story about ancient history at all? Today, we're going to dig into this really wild idea, that it's actually a collective memory, a memory of our own minds waking up for the very first time.
All right, so let's just jump right in with this puzzle that's kind of been hiding in plain sight. How is it that so many different cultures, people separated by oceans and thousands of years, how do they all end up telling the same basic story? You know the one, a first couple, this perfect garden, and then this fall from grace that just changes everything.
Just look at this pattern. You've got Adam and Eve in Hebrew tradition, sure, but then you have Mashia and Mashayana over in Iran, or Nua and Fuxi in China. The names are different, the details are different, but that core idea, it's universal. It's the story of losing some kind of primal unity. It's almost like it's a memory that we all somehow collectively share.
So this brings us to this really powerful idea, and it's one that's actually rooted in neuroscience. What if the Eden myth isn't about some physical place we got kicked out of? What if it's actually a symbolic record, a story our ancestors told to explain this massive leap in our evolution, the moment our minds turned inward and saw themselves for the very first time?
Okay, so to really get our heads around this leap, we have to start with the fundamental difference between, say, animal awareness and the kind of self-awareness that really makes us, well, human. So here's where it gets really interesting. Think about it. An animal sees its reflection and just reacts. But a human, we see our reflection and we can feel pride or shame or embarrassment. See, animals are on this simple loop, stimulus, then reaction. But we humans, we stuck a step right in the middle, reflection. And that is everything. We don't just react to the world, we react to our thoughts about the world. And here's the crucial bit. Our brains actually evolved a totally new capability. These new neural pathways started looping back on themselves, creating what you could call an internal mirror. It literally allowed the mind to watch itself think. For the very first time, our awareness could turn inward. And wow, that changed everything. So how did this internal mirror actually switch on? Well, the answer is hiding in our evolution, and it's an event that, amazingly, echoes perfectly in the Eden myth. Now, this wasn't some slow, gradual crawl. The thinking here is that it was more like a phase jump. Right around 200,000 years ago, as early Homo sapiens were coming onto the scene, our brains developed these closed neural loops, and those were the key to feeling complex emotions like shame, guilt, and love. The internal mirror was born, and it led to this cognitive explosion of abstract thought and, you guessed it, myth-making.
Think of it like this. Stage 1, you've got pure instinct. It's a simple, straight-line signal. But then in stage 2, a new neural loop creates a delay, an echo in that signal. Now this echo, this is where the tension comes from, because the brain can suddenly observe its own instincts. And finally, to make sense of this brand new internal conflict, the brain starts creating stories, myths, just like the one about Eden.
All right, so if the Eden story is a memory of this cognitive leap, what do its famous symbols actually mean? Let's treat it like a neurological Rosetta Stone and start cracking the code. First up, the garden. This wasn't a physical place. It symbolizes a state of pure instinctual harmony, a mental paradise our ancestors lived in before that internal mirror switched on, a time without self-judgment or shame or guilt.
Okay, what about the serpent? This isn't some evil animal. It represents that primal, dopamine-driven urge inside all of us, the one for exploration and knowledge. It's the part of our brain that pushes us to seek rewards and discover new things. It's the very engine that drove us toward this new frontier of consciousness.
And the forbidden fruit? Well, eating the fruit is just the perfect metaphor for activating that new neural circuit. It's the light bulb moment, when the internal mirror switched on and the mind suddenly became aware of its own awareness.
And that brings us to the expulsion. You see, this wasn't a punishment from some angry god. No, it was the inevitable, irreversible consequence of that awakening. Once we could see ourselves, we could never go back to that simple, unified instinct. We were forever cast out into a world of reflection and choice and internal conflict. This profound transformation gave us everything that we think of as human: art, morality, civilization itself. But this beautiful, terrible gift, well, it came with a heavy price tag. We gained so much. The ability to create, to feel deep empathy for each other, to build entire civilizations. But the cost was immense. We gained the awareness of our own mortality,
the capacity for guilt, and a brand new kind of internal suffering. We basically traded the peace of the garden for both the burden and the glory of being human. And it's so important to remember, this wasn't like flipping a switch. This was a slow-motion wave of awakening, a gradual transformation that rippled through humanity over an immense span of time. We're talking roughly 150,000 years. In that long duration, that helps explain why this myth didn't just pop up in one place. No, it crystallized independently all over the globe, from Mesopotamia's Dilmun Garden to Iran's Masha and Mashiana. Each culture's story is like its own unique dream fossil, a local memory of the exact same global transformation of the human mind.
But here's the really mind-bending part. This ancient drama, it might not just be history. Incredibly, it might be something our brains relive every single night.
So, when you boil it all down, the story of Eden is really the story of a perfect neurological balance, a resonance state, between our raw instincts and our newfound awareness. A balance that was beautiful and simple, sure, but one that had to be broken for us to become the complex, creative, and conflicted beings we are today. And that leaves us with one last provocative thought. Just think about your own dreams for a second. You enter a state of harmony, you encounter some kind of conflict, and then you awaken back into reality. What if that nightly cycle is a personal rehearsal of humanity's great cognitive leap, a brief unconscious return to the garden, before we're cast out once more, every single morning, into the world of knowing?